Mickey Hart here, you're listening to the GAA Hour Football Show.
The GAA Hour with Colin Parkinson is brought to you by Paddy Power, home of the Money Back Special.
I'm not finished yet, it took me a long time to get here.
Both players have spoken with each other, and they regret what happened. They've had a frank discussion with each other, and both of them are keen to now focus on getting back their county jerseys.
That these fellas will get such a shell shock next Saturday evening that we'll put them back in their asses for 10 years.
Welcome along to the GAA Hour. This is the football show on a Thursday with Stevie and Conan here in studio as usual. Hello to all our YouTube viewers, and there's only one place to start, lads. Everyone was complaining all week about the times and dates of these Super 8s. Like this week's we knew, but we didn't know the next 2 weeks, but now we know them, so they're out. There's no huge kind of controversy about them. Kerry fans are giving out that they're away in Croke Park at 4 o'clock this Sunday, and then they're away in Clones at 4 o'clock the following Sunday. So like they've got a bit of a poxy drive 2 days, and we know they don't like to travel. My complaint is that Dublin Tyrone is at 7 o'clock in Oma. What bloody time am I going to get home out of that at? Yeah. Other than that, it's all to look forward to. Another thing that actually surprised me about all these fixtures is that they're on this weekend and they're on July the 22nd. Then there's a week's break in between the second round and the third round, and then after the third round, the All-Ireland semi-final is the following weekend. So there's one team as a 6-day turnaround until the All-Ireland final. One of the two will have that. And it's like, 6 days is not enough of a build-up to an All-Ireland semi-final. Why not just play the 3 Super 8s 3 weeks in a row and then give us 2 weeks at least to look forward to a huge All-Ireland semi-final?
Yeah, absolutely. 3 weeks in a row seems to be like the sensible option, doesn't it? And then, you know, we certainly going into an All-Ireland semi-final, you want a wee bit of build
well,
up. You want more preparation, and even to clear up injuries and make more players available, whatever. But you know, going back to Kerry's point, if they're having difficulty travel, I'm sure the Armagh guys will be would welcome taking their place in the competition at this stage, you know. But Kerry won't worry too much about travelling twice.
Yeah, they'll just stay at home and watch it on the telly. Yeah. They only get it. I wonder what Kerry attitude towards they don't travel to All-Ireland semi-finals. I wonder will they start travelling to Super 8s, you know? Like, I mean, this is the tradition in Kerry that they go to finals, but they have a new team, so maybe they'll change all that. Anyways, moving on from that, is John Horan was talking during the week. So there was an official Super 8 / All-Ireland semi-finals in hurling launch. And it was a media launch, and it was held on the feckin' Aran Islands. So goes to say I didn't go. It was on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think yesterday morning in the Aran Islands, or Tuesday morning. Like, I mean, where would you get the time to go to the Aran Islands to interview a few players and managers? But anyways, some made the journey. I think Marty Morrissey spent 2 days there with a full crew and brought back.
I don't think it was on yesterday morning, wasn't he, in Croke Park with the Royals?
Oh, the Royals. It was Tuesday morning then, so that's where it was on Inishmore. So anyways, some people have the time to go to that. I don't.
The press release was like, there's a boat that will be leaving at 10 a.m. Like, you know, it told you how to get to the islands and everything.
How long is the boat? Half an hour?
It's not that much.
I think it was half an hour.
It's not that much. Yeah, I remember getting sick on it as a child on a family holiday. But anyways,
that's why you didn't go.
So John Horan was talking, and he's talking about Dublin and Croke Park, and kind of at the start of the interview says he doesn't want to say too much or he'll be accused of having his blue hat on, and then proceeds to talk about it with his blue hat on. Anyway, so he's talking about this. So these are direct quotes. So when has this developed? This is all the complaints about Dublin and Croke Park. When has this developed? I would ask, who is driving that perception? Now, there's no perception, and when it developed is irrelevant to the conversation everyone was having. It's unfair to Super 8. Super 8's first year, that's why it's developed more this year. I've been talking about it since Dublin started playing their league games there. So here he says, Dublin have been playing in Croke Park for a long number of years now, and all of a sudden one issue over the Super 8s has kicked this all off. So they've been playing in Croke Park for a long number of years, all the time. Nobody cared about playing Dublin and Croke Park until they started playing league games there. Then there was questions being asked. I started a campaign that they at least take their quarter final out of Croke Park, because it's not fair. They're playing all their league games there. It's a home venue. So again, he's talking about stuff that's not even important to the whole debate about that, you know, when about has it developed or whatever. So then he says they've been very successful in that period of time too. The All-Irelands, alright, there's a stat that Dublin have played 74% of all their all their league and championship games there since 2011. 74%. He's saying that's skewed. So then he uses Colin O'Rourke to try and defend it. He says, to quote one of Dublin's least greatest fans, I disagree with that. I don't think Colin O'Rourke is a least fan of Dublin. But anyways, he says the playing of Dublin matches in Croke Park benefits an awful lot of other counties in Leinster from the funding that's raised and the benefits they get from infrastructure, grants and coaching. That's just one angle from a person who is not the biggest fan of Dublin. So that's what Colin O'Rourke has been saying, and John Horan is using a financial reason for Dublin playing Croke Park and completely brushing aside the fairness from a player's point of view. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's unbelievably disappointing from the GAA president to have a Dublin... I would expect these arguments to be coming out of like Charlie Redmond or someone, and we're going to get to Charlie Redmond in a second, but that's really disappointing.
It is. It's very, very frustrating. Like, he's completely missing the point. It seems to me like he's deliberately missing it, you know.
Yeah.
And then saying, where does it come from? Like, the reason it's sped up this year and it's under a bigger spotlight this year is because there's a new format this year. There's a home game, there's an away game, and there's a Croke Park game.
You can't play the two. You can't play a home game at a neutral venue. Like, I mean, how can they not see this logic? And I don't want to get back into this because we spent so much time on it. But I cannot believe, and I've had issues with John Horan before over him being a dub, and he's a passionate dub. Yeah. And like, this is very obvious to me that this fella cannot see fair and reasoned explanations and fair and reasoned debate and what's fair on the pitch. I don't give a shit about money being filtered down to other county boards, John. That's not what this whole debate is about.
Yeah, what is an intriguing stat there? 74% since 2011. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah, you know, that's off the chart. So it is, and you know, the majority of counties, every other county actually has played maximum 50% of their games at home. Maximum.
Yeah. Oh, less.
Possibly less. Yeah. So 74% is
most counties would play. You'd have 7 league games. So you'd either play 3 or 4 home games, and then you wouldn't have another.
Dublin, you have 9.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't have another game. Generally, you don't play championship in your home ground. So, like, I mean, most teams have 2 or 3 or 4 home games per year. Yeah. Dublin have 3 or 4 league games, a league final, and then they'll have every championship game there bar the semi-final. And then they try to say that this isn't kind of a home ground. But anyways, so then he uses Sean Shanley. Incredibly, uses Sean Shanley objecting to Thurles as a positive. Right, so he tries to say when Dublin hurlers were caught last year against Tipperary down in Thurles, Sean Shanley spoke out, but not in any strong manner. Right, so they went ahead and played the game. There was no protest, even though that was listed as a neutral venue. They did play at Tipperary and Thurles. Sure, that's what Donegal are doing.
That's exactly what Donegal are doing.
Donegal's
done it very diplomatically as well. After a meeting.
And got nowhere, and there was no protest. And Sean Shanley made the exact same protest or kind of criticism of having to play Thurles. Like, that should be used as not as a defense. This should be like, it's unbelievable. But anyways, we're going to get to Charlie Redmond because this goes along with this kind of old nonsense. And like, straight away I have to say Charlie Redmond is obviously a legend and I really like him, but Charlie Redmond would be in a similar vein to Vinnie Murphy and these kind of Evening Herald style ex-legends who are not objective in any way and nothing to say regarding Dublin should be taken in any way seriously because they're basically a Hill 16 and they're preaching to the boys on the hill. Do you know what I mean? That's what they want to do. So anyways, so Charlie says, this is in Sunday World last Sunday, and I don't wonder how this should have even gone to print. Dublin choose to play their league games. Now listen to this. Dublin choose to play their league matches. Dublin choose to do that to get extra money for everybody else. Right? So Dublin are basically going to Croke Park with the intentions. This is basically Robin Hood. Like, I mean, they're just trying to help everybody else out. That's why they're doing it. So he says the Alliance League gate receipts are divided by 32. Most of their championship games are fixed for Croker so that the thousands of people who want to see them and their opponents play can do so in comfort. And so that the clubs and counties all over the country can get grants from the GAA headquarters to improve their own pitches, clubhouses and coaching programmes. What a load of bullshit, right? So there is a percentage of all league revenue goes into a pot to the 32 counties. It's only 20%, right? So Dublin keep 51% of the Croke Park revenue. So there's no kind of idea that they're giving all their money away to everybody else. They're keeping 51% of it, which is a big percentage. Or well, the 51% I think might be split between the two counties. Apologies. So 20% into a national pot. Now, what ends up happening over the 350 games or so that the GAA fix per year, this is an interesting stat. About 300 of them lose money because the crowds aren't big enough, right? So a lot of, say, Dublin's big crowds, maybe Tyrone might get big crowds, Mayo get big crowds. Some of their surplus in that 20%, they give away 20%, that goes into a pot and it makes up for the shortfall, say, if only 300 shows up to a Moore Park, or if, so that's where it's split around. It's absolutely not used to get grants to improve their own pitches, clubhouses and coaching programs. It's used to make up the shortfall around the country. But this idea that Dublin choose to play their league matches in Croke Park to get extra money for everyone else, get off the stage. How can that go? How can that be printed?
Yeah, and saying it's for the benefit of everyone. And actually, John Horn said something very similar, that it's for the benefit of everyone.
Yeah, well, he used Colin O'Rourke saying that, right? So he attributed that to Colin O'Rourke because he knew it wasn't entirely accurate. Isn't that a real clever thing to do?
That's the equivalent of someone writing on Facebook saying, Brian Fenton's a good player and I'm from Mayo. As if you've come in them with a deciding fact. We know Brian Fenton's a good player. You being from Dublin, you being from Mayo doesn't make any sense. But
I see them doing that.
Anyway, to get back to the point is, the fact that this is a benefit for everyone, that is insulting. How does it benefit Leitrim, who are getting 565,000 a year over the last 10 years from them games development grants, and Dublin are getting over 16 million? How does it benefit Leitrim when Emma Mulligan hasn't even played at Croke Park?
Yeah,
so how can you say it
benefits them it benefits a county board in that if they make a loss from a National League game, the surplus from the 20% from Croke Park, and it's only 20% of the 100. It's not like it's all given away, and it's very interesting that how much that's left, 51%. So 10% goes on match day costs. Now this is interesting because this is coming from Croke Park. This is every single league game for every county. So 10% goes to match day costs. This is of the total revenue. 10% goes to venue expenses. Now that's for every county, but that goes for Dublin and Croke Park. So Dublin don't actually rent Croke Park. They just pay the same 10% of venue costs that everyone else does.
Yeah.
I would have thought if Dublin are playing in Croke Park would be taking the whole revenue from it, almost saying, look, you're getting to play there, you're getting to host your games there, you're getting all your fans to go in there, well, we'll take the revenue. And Dublin are getting the same deal. Yeah. Dublin are getting the same deal as they would get in Parnell Park as they are in Croke Park. I couldn't believe it.
10% of 30,000 people is a lot greater than 10% of 5,000 people as well.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. But it's still 10%. Yeah. It's irrelevant of what the total is.
The fact that we're even talking about money, though, like Charlie Redmond saying that, this is the point. We've all pointed the finger to say this is entirely motivated by money, and we were told that it wasn't. All people, GAA people want, especially for these quarterfinals, is to have a home game and a away game and a neutral game. Yeah. So we don't want it to be about money. So it's not a good argument.
No, I think that's exactly right, and I think we'll leave the Dublin and Croke Park thing until next year Congress, when this emotion,
or next week maybe.
No, we'll leave it now because we have to get involved with the football. But I couldn't just let those John Horan comments slide, and I had Charlie Redmond's on Monday's show, but we didn't have time for it because there was so much football. I want to get on to this Mayo ladies story, lads, because 10 players, including I'm not even going to say including Cora Staunton. That's everyone's kind of using Cora Staunton's name to make the big deal out of this, which maybe fair enough. But 10 players have left the Mayo squad ahead of their qualifier opener. So they're due to play Cavan on Saturday. So this is an interesting one. A selector's gone as well, who's a father of one of the players. So, and they're citing some sort of sensitive player welfare issues. It's so vague that nobody really has any idea. And what's so interesting about this, if these are sensitive player welfare issues, why the hell is the whole panel not united on this? This is so weird for me.
It seems to be the older members of the panel, I think, have opted out. But you being journalists, have you not tried to get under the skin of this and find out more about it?
I don't really want to necessarily, I don't know how, nobody necessarily knows. I've contacted
the full truth,
contacted local journalists, and the management don't think there's much in it, and the players involved, I don't even want to say what the accusations are because they could be unfounded. So I don't really know. I don't even want to repeat it. It's better for it to come out. But the girls that stepped away have released a statement and said, we've stepped away from the Mayo panel for player welfare issues that are personal and sensitive to the players involved. Out of respect to the girls playing at the weekend and ourselves, we'll not be commenting any further. We wish the Mayo team very well with their game on Saturday. A lot of them seem to be coming from Cora's Staunton's club, so maybe it's this some sort of club issue. But absolutely, I don't care if you're old or young. If there's player welfare issues that are a serious problem with some of your teammates, the whole squad would leave it, which makes me wonder what the hell is going on here.
And one of the selectors, Michael McHale's involved in this.
That's a strange one as well. But his daughter is involved in the panel.
Yeah,
as well.
Fiona,
but panels don't split on these issues, lads.
No,
they
certainly don't.
Not on player welfare issues.
The timing of this is all wrong as well. The week of a championship match, they play Cavan this weekend. Am I right? Yeah. So you'd wonder what really has happened. There might be all different reasons, whatever. But what is a concern to me is that it's mainly the older members of the panel have opted out. But why is it not a full 100% agreement on we're not happy with what's going on here in the background? We all go together.
Yeah, that's what makes me think that maybe this is. I don't know. I don't want to speculate because there's no point.
I think it's wrong to
subs
speculate,
licking their lips there, thinking they're going to get a starting jersey.
Well, they wouldn't be walking out anyway.
I'll tell you who will be licking their lips: Cavan this weekend. Going into a game knowing that they're not facing Coruscant. What a player.
Yeah, she had been out. So there's I don't want to say any more because it's so vague and it doesn't actually help anything. I should have just said what the problem is, because all it gives way to is speculation. And to be honest, I always would back players on player welfare issues, but I don't necessarily want to back those 10 when all the other 20 don't seem to think there's a problem, a big enough problem to walk away. I think there's something strange going on there.
Something underlying there that, I suppose.
Maybe there's personality issues or something, I'm not sure. But anyways, we'll move on from that because there isn't a lot that we can actually say on it. So the Kildare County Board are getting a taste of their own medicine. Have you seen this news, lads? So Monstrevan are refusing to fulfil a league fixture, and Monstrevan GAA Club are 100% right in that the Kildare County Board, after all their whinging and moaning, and to be honest with you, I've said loads of times on this show, the Kildare County Board I don't give a shit about. It was Cian O'Neill and the Kildare players that drove that whole thing. Kildare County Board would have gone to Croke Park in a bloody heartbeat. I actually got information that they had initially agreed to Croke Park but anyways, so Kildare County Board wanted to come out great and stand up for players. So what did they go and do then? They go and fix a round of league games for the exact same time as their under-20s playing an All-Ireland semi-final. What kind of idiocy is this? So the under-20s are playing in the Gaelic grounds in Limerick at the weekend, and they're fixing the round of league at the same time. So Monstrevan released a statement that said, Monstrevan GFC wish to inform that this Saturday 14th of July as a club we will be in the Gaelic grounds Limerick supporting our 3 club men and Kildare under-20s, Pádraig Nash, John O'Toole and DJ Early in their All-Ireland semi-final, and therefore choose not to fulfil our league fixture. We find it incredulous that the Kildare County Board would schedule league fixtures that clash with a game of this magnitude, and it is with regret that we feel compelled to take this action. The club players and the club team management and players fully support this position.
Proper order.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Doesn't it?
It further, I suppose, enhances the argument that this competition is being put to the back burner constantly. Under 21s first of all, and now under 20s, and county boards and the hierarchy of GAA don't really care too much about this level of competition, as were the players involved, the management teams involved, and the respect from the clubs, with the players involved as well, do want this competition to go ahead, do want it given the respect that it deserves, and they want to go and support their teammates, and that's proper order from my point of view.
But this is so brain dead, because the Laois League matches are played on a Thursday night and nobody has a problem with them at all. What's wrong with a Friday night? What's wrong with a Saturday at 1 or whatever time's now? Put them on the Saturday. Now obviously they're looking at the weekend and they're going, right, Kildare seniors are on Sunday, Kildare and Monaghan are on Sunday, so they're saying we can't play them Sunday, let's play them at the same time. But they play them on a weeknight. No club will object. A weeknight or clashing with your under-20s. It doesn't even...
Is there many counties actually have league matches on a Saturday evening? I don't think so. It's normally on a Thursday, Friday or a Sunday, is it not?
Yeah, it depends. I don't know the answer to that.
I've never heard of games being played on a Saturday evening.
There's a lot of Wednesday night fixtures this year. There's a lot of games going ahead midweek and just put them on whenever. Players will play whenever you tell them to play.
Don't put them on at the same time as an All-Ireland semi-final.
After beating Dublin in the final, an amazing game, and awfully the county is rising a bit. And they're going well in minors as well.
So there you have it, Kildare County Board. Can I be vindicated here and say that I was the?
I think it's
right?
a ridiculous, thing to go and fix games at the same time, particularly the way the county are on the up now. You know, the seniors are going well now. They've reached the Super 8s. The under-20s have actually gone and won an Ulster.
But even after them trying to look all principled and all fair by challenging Croke Park on Newbridge when it wasn't them at all. Like, I mean, this just sums county boards up. I can't just. Sometimes you just have to laugh.
Somebody said it in the office the other day to Willie. He's like, "Oh, fair play to the Kildare County Board though for taking a stand." Willie's, no, that wasn't them. He got really hot under the collar.
No, but they did well. They did well to try and take glory from that. And didn't they pull Keane O'Neill's press conference on the Tuesday because it wasn't at your man? It was in the Examiner. I was the Kildare president was saying it's not Keane O'Neill that should be doing all these interviews, it's the county board chairman. Anyways, listen, you couldn't make this kind of stuff up. Gary Walsh, lads, tweeted out his goals for the year. Have you seen this? It's great. Like, I mean, like, I've never done this, but like, I mean, I'm sure a lot of players can relate to this. And basically,
you relate to number 4 on the list anyway, Willie.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's 14 goals he set out for his year. 13 are football related and 1 is about college. So he's passed and failed some of them. So we'll go through them.
Was this at the start of this year or
started this year? Started this year. So every player should release their goals. If going forward, can every player and let us know what you've achieved and what you haven't. Wouldn't that be fantastic? So you have to give Gary Walsh a lot of credit for doing this. So start winter training November the 1st. Correct. He did that. That's when Laois started and he was going to be there. So that's a very easy one to start. So he goes, miss no training because of beer before Christmas. Correct. He passed that one. So he missed no training. So training's usually Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you'd be doing well to miss that. No, I haven't said that. He's in college, right? So he's in college. No, he's in college. So Tuesday and Thursday are a threat. Right. Third one then. January till the end of championship, missed no training. Correct. Missed no training. So fair play to that. No 2-day sessions of beer for a year, he said. So he failed that one. So like, I mean,
Red X was like
nobody in Laois would probably be surprised.
He was obviously on a stag somewhere along the line.
So I'd say I would have failed that a good few times myself. Every month maybe. Some of the years I was playing. I'm going to say some of the years now.
Every Tuesday to Thursday when training was on.
Lose half a stone before January 31st. Bing. Correct. He passed that one. Complete 1 extra session of freeze per week. Bing. Did that one. Good. Will I do a bing? No, okay. Play in the Burn Cup. Correct. He did that one. Play in every league game for Laois. X. He didn't do that one. Now, he didn't do that one obviously because of the tweet he sent out before the league final, because he had been having a brilliant league and played all the league games as far as
wasn't he?
Top scorer across all divisions. So he missed out in the league final. I don't think Laois should have dropped him for that, but that's water under the bridge now. Then score 4 or more goals in the league. Correct. Did that. Top scorer from Laois from playing the league. Correct. Did that. Passed the first year of college. Correct that. He did that. Play every championship game for Laois. He did that. Now, having said that, play every championship game for Laois. In the last game, he only got 2 minutes at the end. He came on for Roscommon, which I just can't get my head around. Why, when you're chasing a game, someone like Gary Walsh, he scored 2 points from play against Dublin when he came on. Like, I mean, he'll get you a few scores. So 2, especially with the win, because he's a long range point kicker. Oh, geez, I would have given him 15 minutes at the end of that game. But maybe like he was really poor against Wexford in the first round, taken off half time, and then never saw start again, and just was getting bit per player. It seemed very kind of, I don't know, harsh to be gone that far down the pecking order. But anyways, we'll just finish out the goals. So top scorer from Laois from playing the championship, didn't obviously win that one. Didn't do that one, and scored three or more goals in the championship. He didn't do that one. So just thought it was an interesting list, and I've never kept anything like that. Stevie, did you ever keep a little journal with your goals or stuff?
Most players would. I think it was more a player diary that I would have kept in the past. Did
you keep a player diary?
I would have a few years built up of player diaries, alright, but I certainly wouldn't be releasing what my goals were. I wouldn't be putting it out on social media either.
But I presume as a corner forward, you'd relate to a lot of them, as in you want to be top scorer, you want to practice.
Listen, I always say the job from number 10 to 15 is to score for your team. That's it. Your number one job is to get scores for your team.
Not if you play for Fermanagh or Carlow.
I know that, but
Tyrone.
But once you've got those numbers in your back, you've got a responsibility to score. Particularly if you play 13, 14, 15, you know, and you have to have an element of greed. I had an awful lot of greed in my playing days to get on the score sheet as well. And the likes of Gary Walsh, you know, playing the position that he played in, you know, he has to be saying it has to be a number one, you know, goal for him, definitely to become top scorer. And it was always a goal for me as well, definitely to be up or near up in terms of the top scorer for the county team on a yearly basis. I always did have a goal though, to score in every game. Find a way, always find a way. There's too many players use too many excuses, you know. But it was double marked. Doesn't matter, find a way, you know, create better movement, you know, get yourself into a pocket of space where you actually have the belief. And you know, some goals you got there is great to read, but you know, a player particularly in the forward line has to realise that he's in that forward line and his number one job has to be to score for the team. And it's great to see that he has put scoring in as one of his goals.
Yeah, he definitely does. Give us a flavour of something was in your journal there. You give us a little us something.
Well, one was that you know, don't go any game without scoring. I was held scoreless in one county game in my life, and that was in the All-Ireland semi-final against Kerry in 2000. And I made a promise to myself after that there. You know, people always say, oh,
so who was on you?
Who was on? Mike McCarthy, serious player.
Yeah, tight.
Absolutely unbelievable player. So he held me scoreless. I was taken off in that particular game, and I said I was embarrassed by my own performance, but I said after that, never ever again am I going to be held scoreless in a game. And I went the rest of my career and scored in every single game.
But is that dangerous in that if you hadn't scored with 5 minutes to go and a goal was on, you if a goal was on with a pass, you wouldn't give the pass to get if a point was on to you, like you'd make sure that you weren't going to be scoreless, so you might not give the right ball?
No, I think, listen,
you know what I mean?
For me, you know, scoring in every game, a lot of it came down to movement and work rate, and you know, finding yourself in enough situations where you could take your own score, but also find yourself in enough situations where you were laying the ball off and passing it at the right time as well. You know, I do say there was an element of greed in my game. You have to be when you're playing in the corner forward position, but you know, you have to realise and be aware of the players around you and your teammates as well. And I think the team that I played on, you know, we were a good team, but you know, there were players that we knew were going to score week in week out for us, and I was one of them. Ashton McConville was another one, Ronan Clark was another one, but we just knew when they take the score, and we knew when to pass it off. Yeah,
Conan, you're the people's champion here at club level. Do you have do you keep a journal or?
Yeah, it was my only goals was just to track back more often, be in position.
A terrible
definitely one for the
set up the defence.
What a terrible one.
Pass it off and go again.
Sweep well.
I'll tell you what I have actually, and I came across it maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. There was one particular year at the county, I actually kept the diary of every training night and everything, read through it, you know, really ridiculing players, teammates, boys who didn't get stuck in, boys who pulled out of tackles and all, and reading back over it, it definitely made you laugh, so it did. But it was great to have that as well. But I also used that as you know, seeing how I was progressing through the year as well. Maybe go back to where I was on the 1st of January compared to where I was on the 31st of July, whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
I think Jamie Clark was one that says that he keeps stuff like that, and like, I mean, maybe a lot of different lads do. Their journals are probably different in these goals, but like, I mean, it's nice to have somebody honest about goals, because every player has individual goals, and I hate this old nonsense that, oh, you get an all-star, oh well, it was all about the team, really. I think every player dreams of an all-star. I dreamt of getting an all-star, never got close to it, but you dream about, that's what you daydream about, being good enough to be an all-star, or to be good enough to win an All-Ireland. Anyone that denies that, or you score a great goal and you can't just be interviewed and say, yeah, geez, look, I was delighted with that, it was a great goal. Well, to be honest, it was all about the team. Without getting the ball, without getting the ball into me now, I never would have scored that goal. So like, I mean, stop. Just stop.
Every player has their own goals. Every player has their own individual and team goals, and you know, we often see it nowadays, players with their wrists strapped and writing all around their wrists or whatever. Enda McDonnell was a big one for that there with Armagh. He used to have a story going up his arm, so he did.
Now I think that's a load of nonsense as well.
But sometimes it's a reminder. I wouldn't be one going out onto a game.
You need to look at your wrist to win the next ball.
I wouldn't be one going out onto a game and having to look down at what's wrote on my arm to keep
I would hate if ever managed.
Conan, like, so these lads could have movement written there, like, I mean, so like, you were actually waiting for a ball and you might go, shit, I forgot about movement. Thank God I've written it on my wrist.
Everyone reacts to their own goals in a different way, and you know, it works for some people doing that there. It definitely wouldn't work for me, but you know, I would have my own focus going into the game and know what I would want to achieve. But definitely every player is different, but I do see quite a lot of players nowadays, with stuff rolled up their arms as well.
Yeah, I honestly genuinely think that players see other players doing that, and it almost becomes a fashion thing, because it's a load of, okay, I can't say it is, it's whatever helps the player individually, but I actually think some fellas go around trying to look like maybe they might be a bit more interesting if they have all this shit kind of scribbled on tape on their what can it, how can that help your performance though? Like, I mean, you're playing in a championship game. What do you want? What extra do you want at this stage? Like, I mean, it's championship football. Stop that nonsense. Take it off your wrist and go out and play. Go out and play the game and win it. It's a championship match.
Play wasn't one of those players.
Psychologically, did you ever find yourself like drifting out of games though? Like, I've never had anything written on my wrist, but I do know that there's games where you're just not as involved in the game.
They'd be league games now. Very rarely for championship. What used to happen to me with league games, if I had a song in my head and I was singing a song, I know I'm gone here, and it would never you'd never get it out of your head.
In your head.
You know you're not tuned out if you're just kind of. But I'd always play bad if a song was in my head, and if
really
a song.
Were a manager's nightmare. You were a manager's nightmare.
If a song wasn't in my head, I was on for it. I was ready for this match.
But if I was kind of a few shapes in Croke Park.
It's like that Simpsons episode where he goes inside Homer's brain and there's like two monkeys just clapping drums together.
Right, we're going to have to talk about the matches here, lads. We'll be back. Right, we'll do Kerry Galway here, lads, because it's really difficult to kind of decide which one to do in the middle part. Arguably, I think this is the most interesting to me. Dublin, Donegal would have something to say about that as well, because that's very interesting in its own way. We'll cover all the games in all the other games in part 3, but we'll talk about Kerry Galway here. And it's hard to even know where Kerry are at after seeing that Cork performance and then seeing Cork go out against Tyrone. And last year we had rated Kerry so highly after hammering Cork as well, and then they were destroyed against Mayo in 2 games. So we don't really know. They always seem to have Galway's number, but this is a different Galway again to what we saw last week. Like, I see Damien Comer saying, if we play in the second half, if we play like we did in the second half against Roscommon, we can play with that bit of steel and edge, play to our potential. If we sit off them and let them play, they can destroy any team. Our lads are streetwise at this stage. They'll be well up for the battle, and really that's a good way of describing Galway this year. They're more streetwise, and I just don't see the usual Kerry procession in this game than as what we've become used to.
I wish it was in Salt Hill. Like, I'm just a bit worried with it being Croke Park, Kerry being so used to it, Galway having those bad memories over the last 2 years against them there. Yeah. And just not having really. In fairness, they did alright in the league final this year there, but
they did.
But it's just, I'm just a little bit worried. There's so much space there, and again, just the familiarity with Kerry at this level. Like, if I had been in Salt Hill, tighter ground, bit of wind, it just would have fancied Galway so much more. But just, I don't know, there's just something about it for me that's like, it's still looking that way.
This is the acid test for the Kerry system, really, or for the Galway system, because any of the cynics throughout the league were saying, well, let's see how this goes, and I was one of them, against the likes of Kerry and Croke Park, because that's why they've tweaked it this year, because of the Kerry game last year and the Kerry game before that. They've tweaked it a bit more defensive, but it's difficult to know, lads, because like I've said, tactically with Galway, they look very defensive, but they actually use 3 of their two of the half back line as 2 sweepers, because they often play against teams that are giving them up. Their half back line can't act as sweepers against Kerry, because they've Stephen O'Brien, Sean O'Shea, and they'll have they have Micheál Burns or Darren O'Sullivan. So how can these 3 lads drop off them? You can't drop off those 3 fellas. You can't. And then you'll have Heaney and you'll have Brannigan coming back, but they'll have Paul Murphy and Gavin White to worry about. Yeah. So like, who's going to get free that hasn't got a speedster or a scorer to kind of deal with? So tactically, it is a really interesting game.
Absolutely, and what you've got in the Kerry team is from 10 to 15 is all scores, a threat throughout, and boys who can kick points from distance, boys who can really penetrate at a fence as well by running the pace. Stephen O'Brien particularly, but it'll be a real acid test as well for the Kerry full forward line, probably the best inside line in the country at the minute, coming up against a more defensive team, to see how they can cope with that as well. We know that Dublin can cope with it, but can Kerry really cope with it when they get a confident defensive team playing against them
Yeah. So Kerry need to forget really about their kicking game in this one, because it's never on with that many bodies back. Like, I mean, so Kerry are going to have to show a bit of adaptability, and like we saw like Laois able to do it against Carlow. We saw Kildare doing it well against Fermanagh, where they're not forcing that kick into the full forward line. They're waiting for it to maybe open up after a few passes and drag those zonal lads out of there, because I can see this being the 12 versus 12.
Yeah.
Or 13 versus 13. I think Kerry will push right up in there, and they'll try and move into any zonal lads that Galway are trying to leave there.
Yeah, the only thing is, from a Kerry point of view, and probably a message to them if it's Fitzmaurice might tell them in the first couple of minutes they can't afford to put a few long high direct balls in on top of the Galway at full back line to see if the height of Geaney, the height of Clifford can penetrate and win clean ball, and maybe lay it off the likes of O'Donoghue coming off the shoulder or whatever, and get a couple of early scores and see if that opens up Galway any, just for a few minutes.
But I'm wondering, will they be able to do that if Galway are trying to drop lads back? Like, I mean,
exactly, but a few long direct balls just to hit them hard and see how it opens up Galway, or if it opens them up at all. If it doesn't work after a few minutes, then they revert back to playing a more sensible, patient game against Galway, because then they will have realised that, right, it's going to be difficult to break them down, so we be patient and calm on the ball and take our opportunities when we get a chance.
Yeah, maybe it's hard to know. Maybe there could be something in that to test one out, but I see that being wasted ball.
Yeah, but I thought was it against Clare in particular, they were very good at moving it through the hands, and it was very sharp, and it was almost, I don't know if Kildare or the template now in the last game.
Clare didn't have that many men back. Like,
but just even the way Kerry were attacking, like the ball was just moving constantly, you know, it didn't have to. It was the same with Kildare against Fermanagh, they moved it when they didn't have to, and you just sort of saw those patterns coming from the Kerry attack, and you're wondering, is this a team who are preparing for a more defensive team on down the line? Granted, Clare didn't set up defensively. Clare scored 30 points.
They didn't set up defensively, but they were trying to drop their half back line back, kind of tackling with the ball. But Kerry are so bloody fast, they were getting down there before. And Galway do try to do that. Like, Galway will go orthodox for kickouts and try and push up on kickouts as much as possible. And like, I mean, Kerry definitely have some joy if they win their own kickouts. There's no doubt about that. So whether they go short, Galway generally might go 5 against 6 for the kickouts. They'll be trying to split in the full forward line, and Ross Munley was right, that doesn't work. Like, I mean, if you're going to push up, you have to push up with everybody, because these goalkeepers, all they're doing is knocking it across to the corner back, and you're trying to split them, and if you commit too much to the corner back, he'll tap it straight to the full back who's right in front of you. Two can't split 3, not the way goalkeepers. 2 could split 3 in the half back line, because the ball has to travel a bit and you might get a cross, but in the full back line they're just tapping it to the corner back.
And I suppose this is the worry and the opportunity for Kerry, because I do think they will win some of their own ball, and I keep using this Kildare Fermanagh example, but when they won ball in midfield and they could kick it in and it went in quick, which is exactly what Kerry can do.
That's when they'll have the joy.
But then the problem is how Galway react to that, and I do think you're right, Kerry will push men right in. It'll be that 12-13 scenario, V13 inside the 45 or whatever.
We saw that a lot in the Laois game against Dublin. There were, like, every man had a man. There was no zonal fellas, but nearly all the players were up in one side of the field, which is real weird kind of dynamic. But this is the way the game is evolving, away from players being afraid, or teams being afraid to go that far and only sending half their team up, and then the other team having loads of extra men back.
But what's happened then from a Galway point of view when that has happened, this is why you got so much criticism even when they were going well, is that Shane Walsh then drops back, and then Damien Comer comes out trying to get a touch of the ball, and they're all inside their 45 then as well, and Galway lose that sort of fear factor that they could have, because all their main threats are just in behind the ball.
To be fair to Galway, they'll be leaving Burke and Comer up there, and
do you think Comer will stay up there?
Absolutely, he'll stay up there, because they'll probably have seen the joy Cork got from a couple of high balls early. Imagine the damage Comer could do. You'd imagine Peter Crowley would have the strength more than anybody else, and Foley will probably follow Shane Walsh. Foley apparently is the fastest fella on the Kerry team, which I was surprised to read. But he's a definite matchup then. He seems to be a man marker for them. So they're the probably 2 big matchups. Beuglock or somebody, Brian Beuglee, I think, will probably pick up Ian Burke then. So, like, I mean, they're good matchups. You'll have White on Heaney maybe, and you'll have Murphy on Brannigan. There's some really exciting matchups here on both sides. How Galway are going to set up with that Kerry full forward line, it remains to be seen. The Galway defenders need help. They need help. But it's how they get that covering help if Kerry move up under zonal men. Like, I mean, this could be, there's loads to talk about of what could potentially happen here.
like we talked last year that Galway's weak link was their full back line, but then obviously they brought in Sean Andy O'Kelly and it looks a bit stronger now, but it's still like I'm looking there, is Declan Kine, is he going to pick up O'Donoghue or Clifford?
That could be a massacre, especially with no covering man. See, this is what Kerry are going into this game going, Galway want to give their full back line cover. How can we stop that from happening?
But Galway have to give their full back line cover because it is probably the weakest line in the whole team. And then you look at the opposite of Kerry, they've got their strongest line in the full forward line. So, you know, it's something that, you know, Kevin Walsh will definitely be honing in on this week, how best to provide that cover to the full back line. But, you know, William Fitzmaurice tell his players push high up. It's brilliant to be thinking, you know, what way is these managers going to actually go about this? We know what Galway's going to do. Do we know what Eamon Fitzmaurice is going to do yet? And, you know, I really do think that he should really test the Galway rear guard, really press high, particularly in the first 15 minutes of the game, first 20 minutes, really see if they have improved dramatically over the last year that we've seen in the course of the league. And, you know, at the end of the day, they are the Connacht champions. They come out in the second half against Roscommon and blew them apart with how they played. So, you know, they are a confident team as well, and it'll be interesting to see how Kerry really test that confidence early on and what style they adopt.
Yeah.
Will Galway have enough if they have 11 back? And your sweet spot then of having 2 in the 45 and Comer if he stays inside and Burke will they have enough to defend against Kerry?
They won't. Like if Kerry push up in their zonal men, this is the way it is now, right? And this is the way the game has evolved. And I keep mentioning Eamon McGee talking about their defensive system and how they were always so conservative that they weren't not that many were going forward. We heard Tiernan McCann when they play Mayo. So when Tyrone would break against Mayo, not as many would break because Mayo leave more forwards up, and it's all this conservative. I think Kerry are just going to completely take Galway's defensive strategy away from them, and they have the players to do it. They have the half forward line that can work, and they'll get back and work if Galway are slow at their build up. But they're not staying back there. I would imagine their goals at every single one of them have to be scoring from play, so they have to be watched. Yeah. So the half-back line, Galway half-back line, have to be picking those lads up when they come in around their area. So none of them can sweep. So then you're looking at Heaney or Brannigan, who have both. Heaney was the sweeper against Mayo. Brannigan was the sweeper, drop-back sweeper against Roscommon in the Connacht final. Gavin White, Paul Murphy, if I was Kerry manager, I'd be saying, if one of them sweep, follow them up there. Play as a forward. Murphy's played in the forwards before, and Kerry are going to try and take any of these cover men away from Galway. I can see that's how it's going to happen. I still
think Kerry will have one man covering as well. They
might,
because the threat of Comer as well, and
because the danger of that is if you go push up everybody, then you are leaving yourself open to counter attack, and that was always the massive fear 3 or 4 years ago. The counter attack will kill you. But I think players now. And I keep going back to backs versus forwards hand passing games, how the backs always won because they worked harder than the forwards. I don't know, did you play those games in Armagh, Stevie? And the backs always won, didn't they? Let's be honest. Most of the time, unless it really got fiery where the forwards just went. It
really got fiery when the forwards got on top. The backs couldn't take it.
Yeah, but this is the point. The point is that these counter-attacking teams worked much harder when the ball broke. But now these teams have evolved so much that there's no way that's ever going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So Gavin White, Paul Murphy, even though they're pushed up, Stephen O'Brien, Micheál Burns, the midfield, they're tracking like they're defenders now. You know, that's the way their mindset is. So I don't even think the teams are as afraid of that counter-attack score as they used to be.
Now, what about... I don't want to harp back to the league because I know you've banned that, but then this flaw that Kerry had where it was right through the centre, and a lot of it was maybe because they were too gung-ho and they were man on man, and then it's just like because people were watching their own man, then you know everything else wasn't their problem and people were just going straight through the middle of them and getting scores out of it. Is that still something that we have to worry about because they're going to play better teams now?
I do think any team that tries to play aggressively, if Kerry do like that, are going to get caught. You know what I mean? But that you're
trying to score more.
You're trying to outscore them, so you're leaving yourself that little bit open. If you want to take Galway's zonal players away, then there is that risk. You know what I mean? And to be fair, in the league, Kerry were missing so many fellas. It's so hard to judge from the league. Like this is Kerry's big test. We know where Kerry are because a lot of people saying, and I do think in the next 10 years they'll obviously challenge Dublin. I don't think they're near Dublin yet. But this is going to be a huge kind of indication of how kind of far these lads have come on. Yeah,
well, I think it's going to be their biggest test in the 3 games that they're going to get in the Super 8s, you know, in their own group. But I think Tag Morley will hold position. He'll hold it.
He could hold, yeah. So you're giving Galway one extra one, yeah.
I think he's going to hold at 6. So Galway will have that extra player. You know, it's all well and good, you know, pushing and pressing high up, and that's what I would do. But you have to be sensible about the whole set up as well, and say, right, we need to provide some kind of cover here in case it breaks down. And the likes of Shane Walsh coming up pace, you know, having the outlet of Burke and Comer inside, you know, you have to be wary of the threat that they possess as well. And Comer, if he drops out deep as well, you know, has a really powerful run, and he really can't be stopped. I don't
want to be unfair on Barry McHugh, but if he's starting, whoever's marking him, because he's not as big a threat as all the other 5, whoever's detailed to mark him will probably let him go, and they'll kind of stay back. You know what I mean? That's the way it'll work.
It's not unfair. It's
no, that's the reality. That's the reality in the hierarchy of the Galway forwards. And he does drop. So Kerry will probably let him go off and drop, and whoever's marking him, which could easily be Morley. We don't know. It could be any of them. Whoever's left. Yeah, I would say it will be Morley actually. If all the others that we've mentioned are kind of.
I would think so. That definitely won't be likes of Paul Murphy and White, because they'll press. They are a threat.
They spend more time on the other side of the pitch. I do think, for the record, I do think Kerry have all the cards here, and you saying that they'll take away Galway's defence from them.
I think this is what they'll do. Like, you know what I mean? If I was Eamon Fitzmaurice, which I'll never manage Kerry, I can safely say.
But what I think that will end up doing is taking away their attack in some, because I think Galway will end up just lumping more and more back to try and deal with it, and then just indirectly it'll just ruin Galway's attacking plan then as well, I think.
Yeah, no, it's difficult to know, but I do think on the other side of it, if Galway, see, this is the thing, we keep talking now, Ian Burke and Damien Comer will be left in there, and they'll need support when they get the ball, because again, and we talked about this on Monday, Stevie, when you got a ball for Armagh, if you didn't have a support runner, what you were going to do with the ball was very obvious, because you had no other choice. You had to take on your man if you weren't in the scoring zone without support. So without support, you're messing up your 2 inside men. They've got no option, and if you've got 1 or 2 lads running off you, sometimes the defender won't even stay tight on you. He'll peel off, worried about the 2 runners coming through, and suddenly you turn and you've a shot on goals because he's worried about the runners. But if you don't have runners, Stevie, like your options are so limited that like it's a defender's dream.
It's all well and good having a brilliant inside line, but they need options. You know, once you win the ball, you have to have 2 or 3 options. You have to keep your defender thinking, what is this guy going to do? Is he going to take me on? Is he going to go left? Is he going to go right? Is he going to lay the ball off? Is he going to see a pass that I can't see? You know,
Mark Shields' goals the weekend was just he won the ball and then he had the runner and pretended to pop it off and turn the other way.
That's the thing. But if you, and I always did this, not always, but some of the time did this. You lay off 3 balls, your next dummy solo will work because he thinks you're a supplier then. Like, I mean, you just have him guessing. Whereas if you don't have runners, you're snookered. You can't do a dummy or anything.
You can't be too predictable playing in that position. You have to. You know, you have to keep the defender on his toes. You have to make him think, right, I don't know what side this guy's going on. You know, even if you're mainly a right-footed player and not very strong in your left foot, cut onto your right, you know, for the first couple of times, but then cut onto your left and cut across your man, try to win a free off him that way. Comer's excellent at doing that, so he is. And going back to my playing days, I was never as big and as strong as what Comer is, so he's totally different in relation to winning a ball and having that drive and force and going at a team. You know,
but you notice with Comer, he's one of the forwards in Ireland that you can give it to him isolated, and he has that pace and power to go past his man. But watch with Comer, see him in the league final against Dublin. He did it early, but then didn't do it again because they were wise to it. Like they kind of doubled up on him. And then you see it against Mayo. He kicked 1 or 2 early ones. He's always getting these early ones where he's flying, but then they dry up because he starts getting tired. It starts getting predictable because they know there's no. He doesn't lay it off very much. Ian Burke, on the other hand, he's there to lay it off. So when Ian Burke gets it, he almost has to have those options. You know what I mean? Or he's snookered. And it's whether Galway can get support up to them, but also have lads back.
Absolutely.
And at half time, if Galway see that Kerry have them snookered by pushing all up, do Galway just revert to a different system? Have Galway got a second system that could potentially, you know, they could go to? They seem to be fairly married to the system that they have. But I think they will get fellas up in support of the 2 lads. They have to, and they've shown in the last game against Roscommon that they can get support up there.
And that was against the wind. They were playing in the second half as well. They have to get support runners up. They can't leave 2 or 3 players isolated against the Kerry defence that's, you know, a good solid Kerry defence, I believe anyway. You know, they have to have options once they put the ball into the score zone, right? They have to believe, right, we are creating something. If we're not getting a shot on, if we're not taking a man on, we have to win a free. We have to do something that gives us the best possible chance of winning this game outright. And you know, this really is the acid test for your own prediction, Wally, going back. You know, last year you did predict that Galway would, you know, definitely challenge for an All-Ireland within 3 years. If they are going to challenge for an All-Ireland, and there is definitely huge signs of you know, progression there, this is the game that they really have to stand up and challenge themselves in. Kerry over the last maybe decade or so have definitely had the upper hand on them, but Galway will be coming into this game saying, right, this is the one match that we really need to stand up and challenge Kerry. We have to stand up to the plate here now. We're playing at Croke Park, good open field, you know, good test for us. We have to get used to coming back up to Croke Park and winning games, and that's
even if they don't win it, I think they need to be in the game with 5 minutes to go. This game has to be a challenge. If Kerry beat Galway, well, like, I mean, Jesus, Galway nearly have to start thinking, where are we at here? They simply can't.
You know, I suppose to the starting blocks again, saying, you know, where are we as a team? Have we really made that much progress in the last couple of years, or have we, you know, gone backwards? Because they can't keep coming to Croke Park and getting annihilated and kicked out the door by Kerry. They have to start challenging them and really putting the test to them.
Yeah, okay, exactly right, lads. We've done enough there. We'll be back with Paddy Power predictions. Alright, Paddy Power predictions. I'm going to start just with Kerry Galway, lads, and we would just literally 30 seconds on this. So Kerry are 4-11, fairly strong favourites. Galway are 3-1, which are pretty good value, and the handicap is -3. So what are we looking at here?
Kerry, just I think defenders had it easy over the last few years, and like it's started to change now, where you have to be able to hold your man again. Forwards are too smart. You wrote in your column, Willie, on Tuesday that was it Mark McHugh, that brilliant line? It was like, why aren't you playing sweeper anymore? And it's like, because people stopped kicking the ball to me. Nobody does that anymore, so you have to be able to hold your own man. And I just don't think. I think Kerry's backs, in fairness to them, they can do that. They can go man on man, but I don't think Galway can, and I think that's the sort of scenario Kerry will work out. Yeah,
I'll go Kerry win as well. I don't think I'm going near any handicap there.
No, Kerry win at 4-11 I think is good value. I think their forward, like, they've got an inside forward line that is ridiculously dangerous, and even if, you know, Galway have 2 or 3 players in front of them, their instinct is to find a way to get scores, and they'll start playing on the loop. They'll find a way to get opportunities for themselves, and they will be clinical when that opportunity comes.
Alright, great stuff. Kerry as well. Right, so Donegal, Dublin, lads, in Croke Park. So the Dubs are 11-2. Donegal are Dublin are 1-7. Donegal are 11-2, and the handicap is -7 here. So we usually talk about Dublin versus the handicap. I don't see why there should be any difference in talking about that either. It's still Dublin in Croke Park. It's a Donegal team that's hammered their way through Ulster province that Fermanagh got to the final in. So, like, I'm a little bit wary of this, but Donegal on paper and potentially have potential to challenge Dublin in a few years. McBrearty's a huge loss, which is a big disappointment for them. But, like, I mean, we've mentioned before, Odron McNeilish, Langan and Thompson on the half forward line. Like, I mean, they need watching. They're a proper half forward line, and they'll drop, and then they'll, like, again, you're nearly talking like with Kerry, you know, so they're doing a bit of defensive work, but all three can score long distance points, are rangy and are smart players.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see Donegal go to Croke Park this weekend with McBrearty playing and being fit to play. I would have given them, you know, a great chance to win this game then. I do love how Declan Bonner has turned them around again and instill that confidence and belief and get them playing proper football again. You know, they are kicking the ball, they are more direct, but they know how to mix it a wee bit more than what they have done in the last couple of years. What
they will cause Dublin a lot of problems is that the best hand passing game in the country, and that's a fact. And that's, hand passing is so hard to defend against when you're slick at it and you're slick.
And what's brilliant about watching Donegal as well, their type of movement, the angles that they pick up, and the numbers that they go on as well. So, you know, it's very, very hard to defend against that there. They will cause Dublin problems. I'm not so sure whether Dublin will beat the handicap or not. I think it'll be a closer game than that. But I still believe Donegal going into this game with Paddy McBurdy have a chance. Without him, given the form that he was in, you know, it's just going to be a wee bit more difficult. But I wouldn't rule out this game actually being a draw.
Really? See, I can see this game being something like 14 to 13 points. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can just I something on those kind of lines. But like, I mean, like from a Dublin point of view, like who did it put on Owen Bangallagher? Because he attacks from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, who's going to have that work rate? Like, does Brian Howard need to go into the forwards to make sure to keep their eye on him? Who watches Ryan McHugh from wing back? Like, I mean, Jack McCaffrey's marked him before and not done well on Ryan McHugh. Who's better? Is Scully better to pick him up? Who's going to, like, but do Dublin worry about the opposition to that degree? Do you know what I mean?
They have to worry about the likes of Ryan McHugh. Sort of do. Ryan McHugh is the best ghoster in the game.
Yeah.
He's the best attacking halfback that actually gets him beyond his opponents and beyond their full back line. And how often have we seen Ryan McHugh palm the ball into the back of the net? It's obviously something that Donegal working religiously at training, and he's the best player at it. They are the best team at it. And there is goals in this Donegal team. They have annihilated any team in their path in Ulster. Yes, Fermanagh got to the final, but they also annihilated Fermanagh in the final. So that's why I think, you know, it's going to be a tighter game. I really would love if McBurdy was playing, but I still give them that chance. I still give them the chance.
Jack McCaffrey will more than likely be back into the Dublin team. Like, I wouldn't put him on McHugh. Like, I mean, Jack McCaffrey is someone that Donegal need to worry about. It's a waste of Jack McCaffrey. It's a waste of both of them, really. So I think that's a mistake. I'd put Howard, like, who might have more defensive instincts, on McHugh, and say just track all of his runs and man mark him to a certain degree. And if you can help out in the attack, that's great. But you know, your primary job here is to make sure he doesn't cause us problems.
Like, both teams shouldn't want like, if I was Dublin, I wouldn't want McCaffrey coming against McHugh, and likewise Donegal the other way. But Donegal are actually sort of exactly what you want, Willie, in a team where you think can beat Dublin. Like, get the numbers back, but then when they get it, hold the ball a bit and then get the bodies back into the forward line. And that's what they're doing really well. They're bringing it up to around the opposition 65, holding the ball, getting set up. Michael Murphy's going inside in that time, and then the ball's going in, and there's like all these sort of runs from the side that we're talking about on the loop.
They're more than comfortable with 12 versus 12 because they'll get through you with these slick hand passes, you know what I mean. If you want.
And the thing at the other end of the scale for Donegal as well, they've got McGee, they've got McGlynn, boys with real steel about them as well, and they'll not give a shit about, you know, what Dublin throw at them. They'll get stuck in and tore into Dublin at every opportunity as well, and that's what you need at your rear guard too. Yeah,
you do. You just worry about some of these new fellas in the first game in Croke Park, and don't think first game against Croke Park against Dublin in Croke Park isn't a daunting experience.
It,
like, you know, it is.
The
like,
keeper Sean Patton though could have a big part to play. This could be his sort of coming of age now, you know, coming into the Donegal panel this year. Big things expected of him. Really impressing against Derry with his kicking. Now he's going to Croke Park against the best team at pressing kicking. Like, this could be really where he shines. Yeah.
So who marks Kieran Kilkenny then, lads? I kind of like this game of who's pairing off on who. You've got Con O'Callaghan that needs to be man marked. You've got Kilkenny needs to be man marked. You've Mannion who absolutely needs to be man marked. Then you have Dean Rock, Paddy Andrews. See,
they all need to be man marked. That's the problem.
But will Ban Gallagher and these lads go forward as much, knowing that these lads you see, Dublin lads are so honest that they'll track them. So maybe they'll just throw them off their game by doing that. Or keep using the example of Paul Cribben, who didn't track his man. The ball was turned over, Paddy Brophy won it and drove a huge long ball up to him, and it was a point in a second.
Cheated, as Cian Ward says.
Start cheating. Honestly, some forwards, instead of this manic work rate, someone will have to pick up your man. They can't all attack. Cheat. You will, if you put manners on Ban Gallagher once. See, Ban Gallagher is not. You can't hardly leave him off though. Imagine if Ban Gallagher gets a point, you're snookered. Like even someone like, you know, Paul Mannion is going to feel under pressure. If it's hard to know, it's really difficult to know.
So Paddy McGrath will pick up Kilkenny.
I think McGlynn will pick up.
No, Neil McGee will pick up Kilkenny, I'd imagine.
See, that's the thing.
Just turn the podcast on.
Somebody on Kilkenny, it has to be somebody really, really powerful, and it's either going to be. I don't think it'll be Neil McGee. I think it'll be McGlynn.
But Neil McGee is their man marker. He's marked Jamie Clark. He's marked all the.
Kenny will drift out the field as well, so he will. And you know, Neil McGee isn't as comfortable going out the field as what Frank McGlynn will be.
Yeah, well, that's true. I think if he's in on the edge of the square, Neil McGee absolutely picks him up. If he starts drifting, Donegal need to make that kind of decision pretty quickly. But like, I mean, it is like, I mean, in a midfield battle, I think absolutely Dublin have the advantage there. And like McFadden or Leo McClune, they're not fetchers. Now, where Michael Murphy plays is interesting when McBrearty's out. You'd imagine he's in midfield who can put it up to the lads in the air, but does he have more responsibility to be inside a bit more now that McBrearty's not there?
I think so.
I like Donegal are well set. Like McFadden's a big lump though, and he's got Langan and McNeilish and Thompson and Murphy there to help as well. I think they're well set up on their kickouts.
On their own kickouts, but on the Dublin kickouts, like I mean, Fenton and Macaulay, like
Cluxton's going to be back as well.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I mean, that's a whole. CJ McGuinness talking this week and saying that. Cluxton's best goalkeeper that's ever played the game. I think you'd want to be a lunatic to disagree with that, but he said it's just such an unusual situation in that you come to play Dublin, who are a brilliant team, and it's their goalkeeper that you've spent most of your time worried about, which is, like, we've obviously mentioned that a lot before. I don't know, what do you think predictions here, lads? I think that I'm going for a Dublin win. I'm afraid to go with anything else. I'm being very conservative here.
I might just go Donegal +7.
Okay.
Dublin will win, but they might stay inside it.
You're so worried with the 7. Like, I can see Donegal playing really well here and causing Dublin a lot of problems, but Dublin only need to win the first half by 3 and the second half by 4. Like, I'm going to go with the draw.
You're
going with the draw?
I am,
right.
I think there's something about Donegal this year.
There is. And I like Bonner. He might spring a surprise somehow as well.
Yeah, I don't know what surprise he could spring. You're just throwing that out there at the end of the chat without. I have to pull you up.
Well, no, because we were slagging him at the start of the year about going to up the Queens and having that sort of hidden training camp, and then they came out against Cavan. They had Ryan McHugh run around the forward line, in and out of full forward, and they did try something different in that game. Sean Patton's a big surprise. I do think he's capable of doing it, and the way they're set up this year, I think it's different to what anybody else has done. Yeah. So he strikes me as a sort of boy who will be thinking about doing something different. He does. So the next one we want to look at is Roscommon and Tyrone. So I mean, Roscommon have racked up 222 against Armagh. Stevie, you were at that game. I met you at it. They scored 2-6 against Galway. So now the way Armagh set up and the way Galway set up are completely chalk and cheese. So the 222 you can almost write off against Armagh, because Armagh went to play football. Tyrone will play a more extreme example of the way Galway played, which Roscommon scored 2-6 against. Another side of this is Roscommon played really well against that system in the first half and showed a lot of patience and showed that they were capable of actually getting through it. Weirdly enough, they fell apart in the second half when they had the win. So I'm a little bit confused. I think Tyrone might just suffocate Roscommon, who are a really good footballing team. But I think Tyrone are just set up just to ruin a really good footballing team. Yeah,
and we know two teams are actually coming in off the back of very good victories and confidence gaining victories as well last weekend. Tyrone were exactly already at, when you look at how poor Cork were last weekend. Roscommon as well, where exactly are they at? Do we know where Armagh are as a team? But I think, in terms of playing football, if Roscommon are afforded and allowed the opportunity to play football, then they will cause problems. We know that Tyrone are definitely going to spoil that aspect of this game, so we are. I think
there's an element of what we talked about with Galway and Kerry. I think McStay is such a positive offensive manager that you'll see Roscommon. You'll see the 12 on 12. I think this is the way these attacking teams have evolved now, and that's the way they're facing these teams, in that they'll try and take Burns, who likes to sweep, Tiernan McCann. Basically, Tyrone are using their half back line to get back soon and be a screen in front. And Roscommon have an attacking half forward line like Kieran Murtagh. And Kieran Murtagh was talking during the week. It's a lovely quote. He says, Tyrone next week, Donegal and then Dublin. It's what you dream about when you play football. We'll be going out to express ourselves. That's a lovely thing for a wing forward to say now.
There was a line that
thanks from Cahill McCarns.
There was a line that Kevin McStay came out after the Armagh game, says, both teams went out to play football the right way, and that's what he'll send Roscommon team out to do again. He's not going to change what effectively works well for this Roscommon team. So I expect that he will press up high and try to put Tyrone under pressure, because he has forwards, as we seen last week, who are absolutely ruthless. Some of their point scoring last week was top drawer, 30-40 yards, under pressure and putting it over, and that's when you want your players to stand up and be counted. When there is a bit of pressure there being put on them, and Enda Smith stepped up to the mark with 2 classy goals. To have players who make a difference as well, and if they press Tyrone high, they can put them under pressure. Tyrone had a very impressive victory last week, but I still believe that football in Cork is at an all-time low, and that victory sometimes can be blown out of proportion as well.
So Cahill Compton is back for Roscommon. So what I can see happening is he came on the last day and scored a point. So he went off injured in the Connacht final. So I can see him going in midfield with Tygo O'Rourke, and I can see Enda Smith going into the forwards.
Yeah.
So then you'll have Enda Smith, you'll have Kieran Murtagh, you'll have Cottle Craig, you'll have Donny Smith, and you'll have Diarmuid Murtagh.
Yeah.
You'll have 5 forwards there that the Tyrone fenders can't necessarily be leaving, you know what I mean,
exactly,
too easy.
Yeah.
And Tiernan McCann did tell us, I mentioned already on the show, that when they play Mayo, they can't commit as many bodies forwards because they're worried about their men holding their position. So Tyrone, again, like when these attacking teams are trying to play a little bit more orthodox, these defensive teams are used to almost kind of having a free rein to leave their half back line just kind of, have a free role in defending. They can't do that against Roscommon. There's similarities here with Kerry, Galway, as there is between Roscommon and Tyrone.
Yeah. Do those forwards, apart from Enda Smith that you mentioned, will they have enough power for these Tyrone backs?
Yeah,
I
Enda
think
Smith
the
will.
as well. I think the Murtagh's
Colin
well.
Craig is a big man, and Murtagh's is strong.
Yeah.
Murtagh's very strong as well. Kieran Murtagh's not the biggest fella in the world, but he's stocky. He's
strong,
hard enough.
he is
Hard
strong,
enough. And Donny Smith is a bit of a flyer. I think this is going to be great. The question for me is that if Tyrone's running game, which blew Cork away in the second half, isn't working, what is their kicking game? And when I point out no support for a 2-man full forward line, the one that jumps to my mind is Tyrone. Like you saw again that game against Cork, like I paid more attention to the first half than the second half because it was a competition. I went home at half time and watched the second half at home because the life had been taken out of the crowd. I was talking about this Monday, Stevie, after the electric atmosphere of the first one. It was just, the second one was just like, people were just talking. But anyways, don't want to get into that. But a few times they gave in. I remember McAlliskey got an early ball in the full forward line. He ended up kicking it backwards about 30 metres under the stand. Do you remember that early in the game? There was 2 balls then from Richie Donnelly, who gave beautiful diagonal balls to Cottle McShane. He won one in the first half, turned and scored. Now the ball was so good, but Colin McShane had no support. He had Peter Hart spotted this ball, but he was too far back to make up the ground. Colin McShane ended up turning around and sticking it over the bar. Fair enough, that's grand. But if that was Kerry, that would be laid off to a runner. That would be a goal. Like Tyrone are not slick. Do you know they're slick on a counter attack on a running game? If they get a man over, they can look good. But they are not slick with this kick passing game. They're not good at it. They're they'll give it in, and Richie Donnelly can win it. He doesn't have options left and right. Sometimes they actually give it in, and they'll actually have to work it all the way back out to where it came. They're not slick. They don't have that down, and I honestly think it's because they're too defensive to make that balance work.
And when Armagh were getting joy last week against Roscommon was when they actually penetrated and really went at their defence.
So Armagh were incredibly offensive the last time.
So that is a way of getting joy against Roscommon, but we know that Tyrone aren't going to leave that many players up the field, so there will be occasions when they will win the ball, will be able to take on the Roscommon defender, but most of the time they will have to wait for, I suppose, support runners to come, and it'll be it'll be less of what we've seen against Cork last week and more of what we've become used to with Tyrone over the last couple of years in terms of watching how they attack and wait to get numbers in, more patient build up than anything else.
So Roscommon have been using Niall Kilroy. He was actually dropped for the last game. I think Ultan Harney got injured in the warm-up. Did you notice that? He came over to the sideline. So Kilroy actually played then. So Kilroy plays this game where he plays centre forward and he's trying to get back as a sweeper. I just don't think that works at all. He's too much ground to make up and he's never there in time really. And he's small anyway. Now he is clever, but at the same time I don't think he'll start if Smith goes into the forward. So I don't think Roscommon will play a full-time sweeper, nor should they need one against Tyrone. They're slow to give it in. When they give it in, unless you have 2 defenders that can stand them up, and neither Donnelly nor McAlliskey are blessed with massive pace. I don't think you necessarily need a full-time sweeper in front of the 2 of them.
I remember Armagh played 2 sweepers in Croke Park against Tyrone. They just left their men.
That was madness.
And it didn't.
Madness.
They were standing there doing nothing as Tyrone just came up the pitch and scored anyway. Those guys were protecting nothing. But
the game's moved. See, I think the game's moved on from that. I saw Monaghan against Tyrone up in Omagh, and Monaghan had no full-time sweeper. Do you know what I mean? They had no one back there because they knew they could get back. They knew they'll get. Darren Hughes used to run back.
They dropped him back in the column cap
when they needed him, when they lost the ball. But in general, he's there as an option in the attack. And again, that game turned out to be a little bit of the 12 versus 12 on the other side. This is the way it's gone, and I think it'll continue to go like that until teams realise, right, having all these men back isn't actually working. It's not working this side. And it's not working the other side because we can't get scores up fast enough. So I think that's the way the game's going now.
And I think like the way you're talking there is sort of what's happening to Tyrone in general this season. That sort of back and forward, not really committing to what they're doing. I think they're going through a bit of an identity crisis.
They are. There's no doubt about that.
And like they probably realise that they do need to add this kicking element. They brought in Stephen O'Neill. They have started kicking, but as you say, they're kicking these lovely passes because they're all good footballers. But the system isn't really suiting it, and part of me is going back and forward too because I do think it still suits Hart and Sludden and Donnelly better to come from deeper, but I don't know if that's for the greater good or not. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is Tyrone and you have to accept it, but
you can mix that up. Like, I mean, Roscommon against Armagh mixed up a running game with a kicking game beautifully.
They're
like, it was
brilliant
perfect.
To run the ball. I was going to say, if Tyrone actually do decide to run the ball, which we know they will, Roscommon can certainly stay with them because they have fitness. They've got plenty of running power in their legs, but they can also hurt Tyrone by running the ball as well. Absolutely brilliant. Probably second to Donegal in the country at being slick at doing it.
I think Roscommon have a lovely balance, and it's because they're able to get some bodies back, but Murtagh and Smith and these lads support the full forward line, whereas Tyrone are probably that little bit more defensive and slower to get up. But anyways, we'll get predictions on this, lads. Tyrone are 4-9 to win this. Roscommon are a nice price at 5-2, but whether you trust them enough against Tyrone is another question, and the handicap is -3. I'll let the two of you go here first before.
Roscommon should have Brian Stack back as well, which would be a big one for them, but I'm just going to go with Tyrone. Like, when I'm talking about Roscommon's power, I just have this image of Tyrone as this big wall just in front of the goals.
I have it as well, if I'm being honest.
And it's just hard to see how people can get past them, so I just think they'll be a bit more experienced and ruthless and used to Croke Park again, I suppose, than Roscommon. Tyrone.
I don't know. I really don't know. I'll probably opt for Tyrone now at the minute because I do believe they are going to make life difficult for Roscommon, and they will bore the life out of Roscommon in terms of breaking them down as well. But I think Roscommon pose a serious threat. There is space in Croke Park, and they have clinical forwards. They've got forwards who can kick balls over the bar from any distance. So I would give them a chance, but I'll just slightly go with Tyrone.
I'll go with Tyrone purely based on the fact that they're a very conservative team. They'll have seen 222. They'll be retreating way ahead of the ball. Like, I don't think there's going to be no kind of aggression in Tyrone at all. They're going to really go back to getting back there well ahead of the ball, waiting, turning it over and trying to hit them with the running game. And I'm not sure if Roscommon will be able to break down that level of defence. I think they'll wear them down. I really think in the second half, the last 50 minutes when Roscommon are getting really, really tired, Tyrone won't be as tired and they could run up the scores then.
Look at Kilcraig the last day. 3 different markers run in the first half, then Niall Rowan comes on to that doesn't really happen in Tyrone because they don't have to worry about it. It's not like I hope he looks after him. It's everybody's back here looking after Kilcraig. So it's something that they'll be respecting those forwards about and well ready for it.
Exactly. I think so. I think we're all going for Tyrone there. So we've all gone favourites. So Stevie's got put his neck on the block and gone for a draw. Kildare, Monaghan then, lads. This could arguably be the game of the weekend. Like, this is 2 big powerful teams playing each other. 2 good footballing teams. Ross Munley thinks Monaghan kind of have the balance right between defence and attack, and I actually think Monaghan got hammered by Dublin last year and Tyrone got hammered by Dublin last year. Monaghan have evolved that little bit more than Tyrone. Monaghan are that bit slicker up front. They're that little bit more. They've got the running game and they've got the kicking game a little bit better, I think. They're better on the eye, I think, than Tyrone. Could that be fair to say?
Absolutely, and they've got the best forward in the country as well, and that
does no harm, right?
It does.
One of the best keepers in the country as well.
Exactly, a keeper who can kick the ball over the bar from 100 yards. So definitely Monaghan will go in here, loving the fact that they are playing Kildare in the first game. That gives them an opportunity to get off to a winning start. But Kildare will also go into this game saying, we can really pull it up to Monaghan and beat them. And confidence wise, Kildare have come through tougher games in recent weeks than what Monaghan have, and I think they'll be going into this game more with an edge than what Monaghan will be going into it, and I fully believe that for that reason alone Kildare will probably just pip them.
Yeah, I think Kildare will win this as well, but we'll get to predictions in a minute. I think the interesting matchup up front is that Kildare will probably leave 4 forwards up. They usually do. They have that system. Conway works hard. Keith Cribben works hard. Keith Cribben will probably pick up Carl O'Connell, I'd imagine, as well, or maybe wing back Flynn. I think it's Kevin Flynn. But the 4 they usually leave up is Brophy, Cribben, and the 2 Flynns on the inside line. They're all, like, 3 of the 4 of them are monsters. Do you know what I mean? They're huge men, lads, and they can all score. Like, I mean, they've no problem kicking scores from play. I think Vinnie Corey might pick up Brophy, Fintan Kelly, Cribben, and the 2 Wileys will pick up the 2 Flynns, which will be a nice little matchup on the inside line. So that's interesting. But again, I don't think Monaghan can be as defensive against Kildare, because Kildare, again, like Fermanagh, they won't really worry if Monaghan get too many men back. Like, I mean, they're, you know, almost like Dublin. Against Fermanagh, they didn't care how many men were back. They worked it over and back. Their movement was great. And because they committed so many bodies forward, like, how could they give that ball into Flynn and Fermanagh now? Fermanagh had no covering players. Like, isn't that unheard of for Fermanagh? Like, these lads have 2 sweepers. But against Kildare, they didn't. Why is that? Because Kildare had enough men in attack that they had to come out and mark someone. Like, isn't it so obvious when you think about it? How did, like, it was just that conservative stuff years ago when Tyrone played Monaghan. They both had 2 extra sweepers at the back, and they never had to worry about anyone. And neither could score in either one because they were both so afraid of each other. But I don't think teams are too afraid of this now. It's like, I mean, Fermanagh loud a high ball into Flynn with nobody even there to double up on him. Like, it's crazy stuff.
And it's, Ross Munnelly was saying on Monday about the difference now, whereas like you and him and attackers back in the day got the ball and wanted to just go and try and score. That
was a great point.
Whereas they're a lot more smart about it now. Like, and Kildare were doing that. They went down one channel, came back out, went down another, came back out, and eventually it opened up, and they just kept moving the ball until it did, like Dublin. And that has gone now, those days where the forward feels like yes, they win the ball and score. And the supporters are demanding that they just go and score. Everybody knows the crack now. It's
a great point. And Stevie, you probably missed this. Your career didn't evolve across this no more than mine did. In that, when I got the ball, I always wanted to do something positive with it. That's what I enjoyed. Like, if I got a ball, won a hard ball, and had to hand pass it off, I'd be like, what was the point in even winning that? No, but like, back to a lad standing, you know, that kind of way. If you're being tackled hard, you're like, right, I'll give it back, but like, I'm raging, I have to actually do this. But like,
I mean, you read your wristband in and get back in it.
What am I meant to do here?
Be faster. Be faster out to the ball. No, but the point Ross was making, and it was a good one, is that it's taken since 2011, right, year after year of playing these defensive teams for forwards to evolve and go, right, my attacking instinct just can't work here. Do you know, I have to actually do something that I'm not programmed to do and I don't like doing. But like, that's what they're doing now, and it's working.
But it's also good to have that attacking instinct from time to time. Flynn has it for Kildare. You know,
they have it. They all have it.
They all have it, and they don't get to use it too often.
I love the way you always put words in my mouth. He twists the way I say, as if I'm saying it's not a good thing to have attacking instincts.
That's why I'm here.
Well, that's unfair. Flynn does have attacking instincts, will he?
But going back on the point and the matchups, one of the concerns that I would have if I was Monaghan going into the Super 8s is they're coming in against bigger and better teams, the top teams in the country, and they're still relying on the likes of Finney Corey in defence and maybe Desi Bone coming into the game as well. And those guys, you know, have been brilliant servants to Monaghan down through the years, but you know, they're coming up against fitter and faster and younger and stronger players nowadays, and they're going to find it more and more difficult, and the speed of the game in the Super 8s is going to get a lot faster as well. So how are they going to cope? Yes, there's good players all around them, the Wileys and all are fantastic players, but how are the older players going to cope that Monaghan still relies so heavily on?
Yeah, no, exactly. Just 2 points on this is Peter Kelly, I'd imagine, will pick up McManus because he is their best man marker, and we know Owen Doyle likes to drop back. Interestingly, against Laois, Monaghan played Shane Kerry at centre half forward. He scored 3 points. Like, I mean, Owen Doyle gets a handy time of it, the same as Keane O'Sullivan a lot of the time, because they'll rejig everybody around and make sure Owen Doyle is on the least kind of threatening. So maybe if Ryan McAnespie goes back too far, they'll end up putting Flynn across on Kerry and make sure Doyle doesn't follow Mac. You know what I mean? I often find with these half back lines that like to leave their centre back sweeping, Monaghan will play into their hands with that, because Monaghan half forward line will work back, so Doyle will be free. So Doyle's going to be sweeping across in front of McManus. If I was him, I would leave the other two, because McCarran and McCarthy are in there. I wouldn't care about sweeping in front of them. I'd say, look, you have to man O'Grady and Highland. You have to man up on them. That's your job. And I would tell Doyle, only sweep in front of McManus, because this is the thing. Laois was sweeping in front of these three lads, and you see the clips on the Sunday game where Monaghan were giving the ball down a wing to McManus, and he's scoring from out there.
Yeah.
You almost have to stand right in front of McManus, because McManus sometimes likes winning the ball out there on his wrong side, because he's so accurate.
Put him into a cage and then stop him there.
That's the thing. But I'd tell my sweeper, forget about this thing of sweeping from the middle. Sweep from the left hand side.
Yeah, well, that's like, it's a good point, because only one of those three full forwards is the best player in the country.
Is the match winner. Yeah. So let the others tip away and get a point or two.
He's got a man marker anyway, so
and
get you tight on
exactly.
him.
And he's their talisman. Like when McManus kicks them from play, the team lifts, because our main man is on it here today. You know, it's a different thing to the other two scoring.
That's it. Yeah, Kerry now, like, he played a couple of those early balls into McManus as well against Laois, so he will take a bit of occupying. Like, it depends again how the game pans out. If he starts dropping back, then you're laughing. But yeah, you're right. Like, just focus on McManus. The other two shouldn't win the game if your markers are tight enough. Like, McManus is the one who is going to win the game.
Yeah, and absolutely, I fully agree with you, Wally. You know, I thought about this actually a few months ago. Why do teams actually not just double up on Conor McManus? Because if you do that with Monaghan, you're taking away probably 75% of their scoring threat, if not more. So you double up on him. If he's not scoring, he's great, and he's getting on the ball and lifting all of his teammates around him. So double up on him. See how that bodes for your team. But the players marking the other two guys should be capable of man marking them, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. Go back to man marking. And another thing is, the Owen Doyle sweeping. Like, I can't understand how every team doesn't just use their centre half back to do it, because you'll generally one of the opposition's half forwards will drop, right? So then drop your centre half back and sweep. You look at Roscommon trying to drop their centre half forward to sweep. How can he get back there in time? Like, surely a midfielder or centre back is a better man who's closer to that. Your whole shape isn't messed up. Kilroy isn't going all the way back, all the way up, all the way back. He's killing himself trying to make that ground. It just doesn't make any sense. If you move your centre half back, right, and his man's dropping deep, whichever man drops deep, then your wing forward marks him, your corner forward comes out and marks the wing back, and the man that's left free is the corner back on the other end, which you kind of want to have left, maybe not Philly McMahon, or but you get my point. Like, that's the right way to do it. But then when you win the ball back, everyone just has to move back a line, and you've got your shape back. Whereas if you're bringing the Kilroy back from centre half forward, sure, he can't really get back up there in time, or maybe he's just there as an extra man to build it back up.
Particularly the way the game is played now, it's such high levels of fitness required. To take somebody 2 lines back is ridiculous. It should be the nearest man to the position.
Yeah, I think so. Right, lads, predictions here on this one. So Kildare 7-4, Monaghan are 8-13, and the handicap is -2. You probably forget about any handicap here on this one, because this, like, for me, I think this is a 50-50 game. I can't see how Kildare are a 7-4 outsider for this. I really can't, because Kildare are a top class team. Stevie, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I've said it earlier on, I'm going to go Kildare in this game. I think confidence wise, they're on a high. I think the quality of teams that they've beat over the last couple of weeks has been at a much higher level than what the teams Monaghan have beat, so I'll just give them that wee edge going into this game.
Yeah, Conan.
I'm going to go with Monaghan. I think they've got a lot of the best players in their team, like, Bagan, McManus, O'Connell, the Hugheses, and, like, again, just what Ross was saying on Monday, like, it sort of sums them up about how they always leave a bit on you. They're very mean.
I love that one as well with Ross. He actually said they're the toughest tacklers, and he's played against Dublin, that they leave something on you. Yeah. And that's a real Armagh tactic we've talked about before. They'll leave something. You'll know you were in a game with Monaghan, basically, is what Ross said.
Like, they're all up for
Wally, we just knew how to intimidate you.
I was never intimidated. Only once ever in my life was I intimidated in the field. That was in America.
Was it?
Oh, it was a lad from Down. Jesus,
Gary Mason.
I was very worried about him. No, it wasn't Mason.
Intimidated because the 40-year-old.
Anyways, we're too long to get into this. Why I was intimidated. We'll save that for another show. We're nearly done here.
Yeah, no, I think Monaghan. I do give Kildare a chance. The 4 forwards you mentioned, like the 2 Flynns, Cribben, Brophy. They've got everything of a foursome could
Yeah.
ever want. Like Brophy just wants to kick it 50 yards straight away. Cribben will just run over the top of anybody.
Flynn has that electric pace and
Yeah, a bit of a
that
jink.
X factor. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Daniel Flynn's the most unpredictable player in Ireland. Like, so they do always have a chance. I think it might be within the handicap, but I just think Monaghan, and then they've got Kerry at home the week after that. Like, this is one they'll really target, and then they could be like looking to qualify for the semi-final at home in Clonus against Kerry. Like,
Yeah,
this is it.
this game was really close in the league actually. Monaghan won it very late.
Yeah.
I think there was only a point in it. That was in Newbridge. Do you know what? I'm leaning towards Kildare, but Monaghan have been on the road so long and are an experienced team. I'm going to go for a draw here in this one, just to throw that into the mix. That this could well be a draw, and so that's it. So we have a Kildare, a Monaghan, and a draw there. So this is the biggest
One of
split.
us is gonna
This is
win
the
then.
biggest. Someone's going to be singing next Thursday. Right, lads, we'll leave it there. That's all we have time for this week. So goodbye to our YouTube viewers, and we'll talk to you on Monday for the review show. All right, good luck.